Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back, or welcome to my podcast, Rewired to Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am coming on here with an authentic heart. Today we are doing episode number 176, or 177, sorry, of Rewire to Inspire. And I'm a little emotional. If you're watching video, you can see my eyes are puffy and my heart is just a little bit heavier. And as always, whenever I get into these moods and I'm experiencing something, I like to jump on the microphone. The reason for that is because this is a mental health based podcast. And it's really easy to come on here on the easy days and to share all these tips and tricks and things to do. But it's really when you're in the midst of dealing with a mental health struggle that those things seem nearly impossible. It is a Sunday evening right now. I can feel myself cold and jittery at the fact that I know my nervous system is coming down from a fight or flight state. Once you get to know your body well, and once you've experienced anxiety attacks and severe stress, and you start to begin to recognize your body's signs. And so if I'm a little jittery in my speaking, it's because I'm really cold right now. And I know that that's because, again, when we come down from that fight or flight and our body is setting back into that parasympathetic state, it's very common for us to feel those sensations. But you might be sitting there thinking, okay, great. You're sad. Why are you jumping on the microphone? What's going on? What is your message? I just recorded a video on my phone. And I knew that I wasn't ready to post that video in the moment. It's something I'll probably post in the future because right now it's too close to home to post that right now, of knowing that I am not in a headspace to be able to reply to any kind of feedback that video may get. And in the video, I basically shared how much I've been struggling the last little while, but the last hour has just been extremely heavy. Uncontrollable crying, trying to self-soothe, journaling page to page to page, doing deep reflections. And I just kept coming back to the conclusion of feeling lonely and feeling isolated and feeling just tired of my life seeming like an endless infinity cycle where I'm often the one left feeling hurt and less than. And again, all this is from my self-perception. And there's so much I have to be grateful for. And I don't want this episode to sound like I'm ungrateful. But when we get into those headspaces, I think it's really important that we validate how we're feeling because there's some truth in it. We need to let ourselves feel low when we're feeling low. And so I knew that I had to just put my phone away and feel my feelings. And as I was reflecting and as I was journaling, I had gotten to a place, and the more that I was journaling and reflecting and the deeper and deeper that I got, I noticed my dissociation got more and more severe and I was starting to feel out of body. So dissociation, for anyone who isn't aware, is basically when we're out of our window of capacity that our body can handle being present. It kind of drifts us away. When that happens, our thinking brain isn't really online and we are in that fight or flight state. And in that moment, I felt out of body. I felt so disconnected from myself. And I'm still even struggling to articulate on this episode, so I hope you can bear with me as I navigate through this. And I got to a place roughly 40 minutes into reflecting where a part of my brain just popped up and said, wouldn't it be easier to just call it all quits? And I do just want to give a trigger warning that I do want to openly have a conversation around suicide and just mental health in general. And so if that is a touchy subject for you, which I know it is for many and which is 100% okay, I want to just give that disclaimer. And in that moment, I almost had a sense of relief. Because I was like, I have control of this moment. And I allowed myself to just kind of contemplate for a second of, that is an option. You could do that. And I noticed something in me kind of pivoted. And the reason that I wanted to jump on here and talk about this is because I can guarantee you that if I shared this with anybody in my circle, that I was at the point so low in my evening that I was contemplating taking my life, they would be so worried, which I'm so grateful for, and I know that they would be. But more so, I think they would be shocked. I think they would be surprised. Because from a social media outside perspective, I have it all. I have the dog. I have a beautiful home that I'm so grateful that I get to rent. I have a great career that I'm working towards. I have so much to be grateful for. And so nobody would quickly jump to, she's struggling that deeply. She talks about mental health all the time. She's a mental health advocate. There's no way. She gives us tips and tricks. She must have all the answers. And so I want you to never be naive to self or to others of how they might be feeling. Because there was a part of me having that realization that made me feel more alone. Never just assume that somebody is okay. We're all very good at wearing masks. We're all very good at covering up our emotions and our feelings. We're all very good at suppressing how we're feeling and putting on a facade because we don't want to make anybody else feel uncomfortable. I had an ex-partner who told me, and it still rings so clearly in my head, that I would talk about my mental health struggles too much and to basically stop coming to him with them. And I'll never forget how much that broke my heart to hear. And the thing is we all have experiences in our life that paint the picture of how we treat ourselves and what we think we're worthy of. And it really only takes someone saying one thing to lock that in our consciousness as a belief. Here's what I want that new belief to be for you. Whether you have an experience like that or not, I do truly believe on such a deep level in my heart, we have such a hard time speaking up when we're struggling. So many of us isolate. We never would want somebody to know how we're truly feeling. A, because there's a part of that dialogue playing in my head. B, I would never want to burden anybody because of that. And C, I wouldn't want to worry anybody. As much as a part of me knows I would not follow through with that action, the fact that it's there in the first place is scary. And I think that having an open, honest conversation about that, of knowing that if you've ever been to that place, A, I'm so grateful that you're still here. But I want to just validate that you're not alone in that experience. As much as it's easy to come on here twice a week and share with you guys all these things, I just think it's equally as important that we talk about societal struggles and struggling in silence. Do you have a safe person that you can talk to about these things? Or do you feel like you need to carry the weight of the world and the weight of your issues on your heart? Are you tired of carrying that weight? Is it feeling a little heavier lately? What are you needing more of in your life? I wish that this was some happy episode that I could leave with all these different ways in which we could end these struggles. But I think that with all the therapy and with all the modalities and with all the tips and tricks and education and science and all these things, we're still going to reap and feel the consequences of mental health. I encourage you to actually feel those feelings though, and validate for yourself that it's okay to feel them. And if anybody has ever made you feel like you are too much, you should not be feeling those things. You should not be talking about this anymore. Why are you still hung up on that? Oh, does that still bother you? Not only do we need to be more gentle on ourselves, think of how much a little more compassion for those around us would help. But I think it starts with ourselves and not judging ourselves more when we're already struggling. We kick ourselves further down when we're down because we tell ourselves a story that we shouldn't feel that way. Suck it up. Men in specific. Men are taught to, tighten your boots and get back at it. That's bogus. It drives me insane, actually. I think as much as sometimes I struggle with what my purpose is on this planet, I know so deeply in my heart it's to talk about these things, because I hope that if there's even one person that hears this that is like, I'm not alone in these terrifying, overwhelming thoughts, my job is done. That to me is a job well done. And so as much as this is very uncomfortable for me to come on here, because I know that people very close to me listen to this episode, and I know that there's going to be parts of them that worry, I also need to lead by example and share that even if you've been painted as a picture of somebody who should be okay, that doesn't mean you need to be okay all the time. I hope you know you don't need to fake being okay. I hope you know that if you've reached a point where taking your life seems like the most freeing option, how can you allow yourself to feel that in a safe way? What is it your heart and your body are trying to communicate to you in those moments? Are you allowing yourself to fully feel the emotions that you're feeling in that moment? Are you taking time proactively to validate your mental health on a daily basis? We talk about all these other things going on in the world, and there's so much craziness and horrendous things happening in the world all the time. But lately it just seems like it's just like hammered into your face. But yet we're not talking about the silent pain that we all endure. That we all close our doors at the end of the night, and we don't know that the neighbor in the house beside us is deeply struggling. My neighbor's right there beside me. They don't know that those were the thoughts that were just in my mind. And how do I know that they are not over there equally as much struggling? Kindness to each other goes so far. Kindness to self goes so far. We're so naive to think that others are struggling that sometimes we don't even think to ask. We're afraid to ask. We're afraid to have the conversation. We walk into a grocery store, we walk in somewhere and we're like, hey, how are you? What's our instant answer? Good, how are you? Always. We don't even think to check in with ourselves of how we're actually doing. It's so automatic. We've become robots to just pretend that we're okay, to avoid having uncomfortable conversations. And now, do I encourage you in the middle of the grocery store to maybe lay out all your life issues? Maybe not. But even just noticing how when we're asking, are we asking with intentionality of actually hearing if someone is struggling? If somebody actually asks you how you're doing, is your response to even think or just to answer? Because that's easier. Are you left to deal with it all by yourself? To carry that weight on your shoulders? I want to just give that permission through my voice or through video, whatever it is, to whoever's listening, to put that weight down for just a second. Because I know it's heavy, and I know it's a lot, and I know you've been carrying it for a long time. What is your heart needing? Is it needing connection? Is it needing healing from the past? Is it needing space? Is it needing time? Is it needing... What is it needing? We're so quick to think we have all our needs met and all our buckets are full, and to again put on this facade. But as the common saying goes that I adore, it's okay not to be okay. And I wanted to just openly come on here and talk about that and give you the permission that if you've been struggling, that's okay. I hope that you find the tools and the resources and the healing to get to a place where that's maybe not your truth. But faking it till we make it, especially with our mental health, is garbage. That's garbage advice. That's not how we get out of this. So I know for me, there's things that I need to do. I know there's parts of me from previous in my life, all the way up until now, that are influencing how I'm feeling tonight. It is not one specific thing. Sometimes it can be things that trigger that for us, that kind of like set off that cannon. But what in your life have you not validated has been hurtful for you? What is the fear around healing? Because I know that that's scary, and I know that that can open a whole other can of worms, because then we're left to face our past demons and our past pain, which can be really scary. But I want you to know how worthy you are of that. How worthy you are to have love. How worthy you are to have validation. How worthy you are to have someone listen. How worthy you are to put that weight down for just a second. And I hope you take it off for a little bit longer. But don't forget to take it off every now and again. And be conscious of that. Be mindful of that. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you listening. I hope you know how amazing and beautiful of a human being each and every one of you listening are. You make this world a better place simply by being you. I hope you know how loved you are, how cared about you are, and if no one's told you that recently, listen to my voice and believe it. Sometimes I need to give that to myself because I don't always feel like I get that externally, and so sometimes knowing we can be our own best friend is also a beautiful thing. It can be really upsetting when we depend on external factors and we get let down over and over again. Sometimes it is important to validate for ourselves, while holding that duality of not suffering in silence and finding someone that you trust, that you can maybe lean into to support you. So if you've been struggling lately, or in general, you're not alone. And I'm so proud of you. And I hope that this encourages you, even in the slightest way, to keep going. As I used to tell my clients, let's just get to tomorrow. And then tomorrow we'll reevaluate. Let's not worry about a week from today. Let's just get to tomorrow. What do we need to do to get you there? So grateful for you. I am so blessed that you stayed with me through this episode. Obviously not the most exciting of the topic. I know I was all over the place. I knew I wanted to just speak authentically from my heart. Whenever I feel these ways, I just feel there's like this push in me that says, go jump on the microphone, go share this. Someone needs to hear this. Someone might need this. And so again, although not the fluffiest and most exciting of episodes, I do think it's important nonetheless. And I think that the more that we normalize these conversations and don't ever assume that just because somebody seems like they have it all figured out, that they are not struggling. They're often the ones that we need to check in on more so. So I encourage you to text or call someone you care about and just let them know that you love them. Let them know you care about them. Let them know what you love about them. Kindness is one of the most contagious energies that there are. Authenticity is one of the highest frequencies that there are. Let's spread some love. Let's share some love. And let's share some love for ourselves as well. Thank you guys so much. And I'm so excited to chat with y'all on Thursday. Bye, you guys.